What's good? Starting shortly, but welcome, JFam, Fireball, Insufferable, Maynard fam. It's gonna be a pretty weird game. Yeah, I'm gonna level with you guys. I am not feeling the best. Okay, I'm not feeling the greatest. I've definitely come down with something that my wife gave me, and I was bed rotting, ladaring, if you will, from Clav, and I'm watching this interview because I'm gonna show you guys the clip of how it ends. Clav looks like a complete moron, but I start watching the beginning of this interview, and the journalist that interviewed this guy is such a condescending prick that he makes Clav look normal. And I can't believe that I'm actually saying that. So I'm very excited to be going over this with you guys. It is, it's like cartoonishly condescending. I don't even know how best to explain it. Thank you so. Whoa, holy shit! Thank you so much for the $25. Appreciate that very much, Miss Anastasia. I believe that's the rest of it. It won't show me. Let me turn this down. Wanker is based. Wanker is based. You can say it. Nico here is our in-house Brit that can take the brunt of the emotional damage of being called a wanker. Let's see here. Well, let's kick it off. I don't expect, again, because we are what's good? What's good? I don't expect, because we are this has been a stream after, I think maybe a month ago I streamed last, so well, I don't think we're gonna have a crazy amount of people, but there was so much. I was watching this interview, and like the last interview that I saw of Clav, I started writing down timestamps for each of the different moments that I wanted to talk about. Let me count them really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $30, $31, $32, $33, $34, $35, $36, $7, $8, $9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4, so what is that? 44 different timestamps over the course of this. I found this so entertaining and like and it pissed me off how this interviewer is acting that I was like, fuck it, we have to stream this because I don't want to record this. I'd rather, because I also am trying to do like, I need to make sure that you guys are not, or I need to make sure that I'm not crazy, that I'm not like being extra harsh, but this guy is such a moron. And he makes Clavicular look great. I might get more hoarse as the course of this goes on because I found out that similar whatever the sickness is, it's my throat is getting more sore as I speak more. So I haven't talked today just so I could save it all for this. But thank you all very much. It's just kind of like all around body aches and shit. But if I move around and I talk a lot and just kind of move through things quickly, it doesn't, the pain kind of goes away for a bit. So we will make do. But that's not even the point. We've got some lovely stuff here. So for those who don't know, I think the best way to start this off is to show you guys a live stream fails post that everyone saw, because you're going to see this and it's going to make it more unbelievable that Clav came out on top in any other way, shape, or form over the course of this interview. And he did. But there's a huge post. It went like crazy popular. Let me pull it up. Why isn't it showing up? I don't think it got taken down. Let me see here. Why am I seeing Onipixel 6.7? Why? I guess that's pretty big. It's similar to what we did last time with the Clav interview. Let me see here. Oh, I'm super prepared for this. I only took 2 hours of preparing for this. It might have been taken down. The pale, sickly milkman has risen for the jobless. Hell yeah. I said the funny numbers. Fuck, I'm starting to sweat now. Hold on here. I think I might be able to just get away with doing this. Sorry for the hiccup at the beginning here. Maybe it's just Clav. There it is. Okay. So we'll start off here. This is the tail end of the interview. And this is how it kind of closes off. Let me put myself, there we go.
Sent him spiraling. You've obviously shared company with Andrew Tate and other, dare I say, rather controversial figures. Why do you spend time with people like that?
All right, have a nice day. Are you trying to, I see you want to make this political. Too bad I didn't have time to look into, anything about potentially, who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right?
I mean,
because I'm not doing any political
I'm not married.
gesturing.
But
so
I was simply only asking because obviously
Maybe you got a looksmax then. So I could teach you about looksmax and then maybe you could switch that up. But thanks for the time. Appreciate the interview. All right.
That's probably why your wife cheated on you. Guess the guy didn't have a wife. I think he's referencing that Piers Morgan has had some controversy and his wife has just kind of like publicly humiliated him and has talked about like wanting the pool boy that comes around when Piers is out working. So a bit curious, right? It was a bit of an intro, and a lot of people, including myself, saw this, went, Jesus Christ, he did it again. For those who don't know, there was a previous interview, like literally a week or two ago, with Channel 5 News, Andrew Callahan. And even in that one, there were some issues with maybe how Andrew phrased some of the questions. But all in all, Clav got mogged by Andrew Callahan. He did a lot of dumb shit. He said that the interview did not have... He said that Andrew never asked him a looksmaxxing question, even though like genuinely 70% of that interview was him asking about looksmaxxing. Excuse me. But in this interview, things went a little different. I don't know if any of you are familiar. Gulp, Theo. Was it that loud? I can do it again. No, I can't. There we go. So the biggest thing, I should say the biggest difference between this one and the interview that he did with Andrew is the interviewer. 60 Minutes. Have any of you seen the new, what is it called? The Manosphere documentary with what's his nuts? I can't remember his name. I'm not familiar with the guy, but documentary. This was put on Louis Theroux, or is that how you say it? Louis Theroux or Theroux? Similar issue that I had with this is that Louis and the interviewer that you see in this situation are both pretty condescending in terms of how they treated the people that they were interviewing and stuff for their separate things. Louis much less than what you guys are about to see with this other individual here from 60 Minutes. But it clearly gets to a point where it's not even really an interview, or I should say the quality of the interview is dropped down to such a substantial degree that I'm genuinely surprised that Clavicular did not leave earlier. I would have if I was in his position. But let me show you guys. So 60 Minutes Australia opened or released this 50 minutes leading up to when he quit. Looksmaxxing chat sounds like another word for Botox. I don't even think he's used lip filler. I'm not actually sure. I think he has done a little Botox at this point, but I can't quite recall. But the first 5 minutes here are genuinely the 5 kindest minutes that he is going to get from this guy before he just starts radiating, I am better than you and you're insane. Which, like, let me make it clear, I don't disagree with that. I do think that there is something wrong with Clavicular. I mean, if you get to the point where you are doing the looksmaxxing to the degree that he is, there's something wrong. Like, I can't really justify it otherwise. But the way this interviewer goes about exposing that makes him look more sane, makes Clav look kind of normal, and allows him to justify himself in a way that normally he wouldn't be able to get away with, but he does. But let's go ahead and get started. Oh, let me be clear.
Well, Clavicular, thanks for chatting to me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
What do I call you? That's my first question.
You could go with Clav.
Do you go by Brayden anymore?
Haven't heard that one in a while.
Why not?
Oh, also, I think this is in 1.25 speed. They both talk slow enough that 1.25 makes them sound normal. So if Clavicular sounds a bit more lucid than he normally does, it's because it's sped up a little.
I would just say that I kind of like to keep my personal identity a little bit, not necessarily private, because pretty much all my information is doxed out there, but it's sort of a new era in my life with all of the content I'm doing. So it doesn't even really feel like when I hear that name anymore, that it resonates almost in a way.
It's interesting you say that because the fact that your life's changed is putting it rather lightly, isn't it? Are you a different person in your personal life than the person we see streaming?
Just sort of, kind of, like, with all of the relevancy and just the fact that I can't even really go outside anymore without like security teams and stuff. No, it's a different lifestyle, but I'd say I'm generally the same person. Just a different mission, I guess you could say.
What is your mission?
I think that young men are arguably living in the worst dating market that has ever existed, with how bad hypergamy is, with a lot of the tendencies of modern women. I would say it's kind of my mission to not only raise awareness to this, but sort of bring about a solution instead of just the typical red pill complaining and that sort of thing that you see.
Okay, so this is important. I'm going to be pausing for important moments that might not make sense right away. But he asked him, what is his mission? What is his mission in regards to what he's doing? And you guys might already notice that this interviewer is acting really smug. I'm saying, hold on, because maybe that's just how he is. Just be charitable, because this is truly the kindest that he's going to be over the course of this entire thing. But he asks him, what is his mission? And he's saying that this is the worst dating market for men. And so I want to bring awareness to that fact. I think he brings up hypergamy. If not now, he's going to bring it up multiple times in the future here. Hypergamy is just being like the fact that women date up typically. That's just also been a part of human like culture since we began. That's just kind of how our what is it called? How our dating works in our society. But he's like, okay, that's the reason. So I'm trying to provide a solution, which is looksmaxxing. Pretty straightforward answer. He answers the question, provides a bit of context, gives it, male loneliness epidemic. Exactly. That kind of stuff. He provides a pretty coherent answer here, I think.
I knew this would happen. I'm struggling to understand exactly what you mean by any of that. What is your opinion of women?
So that seemed pretty straightforward. And again, okay, maybe he is just a bit confused. That's fair. And then he starts asking about his opinion of women. You're going to notice him ask Clav about this a lot. And you're also going to notice that this interviewer has very clear opinions already about Clav. Like, obviously, you're always going to have that, especially with figures that you meet online, kind of things like that. You're going to have an opinion of who they are, and then you meet them in person. Maybe that changes, maybe that doesn't. But he very clearly has a very set in his ways kind of idea of who Clav is, and you were going to watch him multiple times seemingly straight up ignore Clav's answers and then tell him how he feels about Clav. And it doesn't really seem like his mind gets changed. Not that it even matters, but he clearly has an agenda.
What is my personal opinion of women? Well, I don't really think that's even relevant to the point I just made. I would say that it's all pretty statistically backed, right? So we take a look at all the stats that are released by like the online dating apps, and how the bottom 80% of women are going for the top 20% of the profiles on there. So even that's enough to kind of justify that hypergamy is a real thing, and that there is something going on that's horribly wrong with society.
Now, number one, that is just a part of that's just a part of human culture. Hypergamy, in the way he described it, like bottom 80% of women going for top men, that's just like kind of how it's structured. That is something that's been researched since the dawn of time. That's just kind of how our society works. Different societies do it differently. Different animals will do it differently. I don't know, praying mantises bite heads. The females bite heads off the males. It's like, this is just something that's already happened. Now, Clav thinks that that's a serious issue. You can agree with that or disagree with that. I don't care, but it's important to see how this guy reacts to it. Now, when we get it, I know I'm talking a lot right now. I'm yapping a lot. But he kind of makes it other good points. Like, it doesn't really matter my direct opinion of women. I'm talking about this like general thing. And Clav focuses on stats. You're going to hear him bring them up, whether they are true or not, whether the stats that he's bringing up are reputable, whether they're being backed in any a sensible or realistic way, peer-reviewed essays, anything like that. Regardless of that, I just want you to think to yourself, if you were in a conversation with someone that you disagreed with, and they said that there were statistics that backed up the point of view that they are kind of, living in and believe in and push out to other people, how how best do you think it would, or I should say, how do you think you'd reasonably be able to, contest with that? How would you be able to challenge their beliefs? Because if you think that it might be to bring your own statistics, your own information up and have that backed in some way, you would be thinking in a much smarter way. You'd be much more capable of dealing with this than this journalist.
I think that is.
Well, it's like I just said, it's female hypergamy.
To the uninitiated, and let's be honest, probably the rather confused among us, can you explain to me what looksmaxxing is for you and what it does for you?
Looksmaxxing is just another form of self-improvement that is a little bit more holistic, I guess you could say, than the traditional self-improvement that was usually just, physical fitness and, athletic activities, whatever sort of was in the mainstream in, the early 2000s, 2010s. You typically just see on forums a lot about bodybuilding, but now it's evolved a little bit further from that, and people are taking mind the face, so that's one of the most important distinctions.
What lengths are you going to?
What lengths have I gone to? Well, I mean, I'd say I've pretty much tried it all. I haven't had plastic surgery, but just about it.
So again, just to clarify, he has outlined that looksmaxxing is essentially a bit of a combination of what previously had come up, that people, working out, fitness, weightlifting, that kind of stuff that was very popular 2010s, but there's a bigger focus on the face. He's going to be asked that question, or he's going to be asked what looksmaxxing is multiple times during this interview. And he's going to mention that he's already answered this, but he'll do it again, I guess, just for the sake of it.
Everything else in terms of biohacking, right? So you can really do a lot for your looks with simple pharmaceutical intervention, right? So stuff like TRT, stuff like taking an aromatase inhibitor so that your growth plates stay open longer. All these sort of things, if done properly at certain parts of your life, specifically during puberty, you really can sort of overcome a lot of your genetic limits, I guess you could call it.
You promote what some would consider rather extreme methods, though. Can you take me through in detail what your routine is and what you've done from a young age?
Well, my current routine, just run you through sort of a list of like my stack, my protocol. That would take a little while. I mean, it's like, do you want me to send you a PDF? Because it's just, a lot of people ask me that question, and like I don't really think they realize like how long it would take for me to just run through a list of like a million pharmaceuticals. So let's just say it's a lot of biohacking, and I wouldn't really want to just say things without specifying what they are, what they do, the risks that come with them. Because if people just come on and watch this interview and see this crazy stack of pharmaceuticals, they might assume that you're crazy, for one, and also if they try to replicate that without a really comprehensive knowledge on like how to use them properly, how to mitigate side effects, it could actually do them a lot of harm.
So, to clarify, right? We have an example here. He's like, okay, he never asks for the PDF. He never actually ends up getting this list. It doesn't appear. But less important, too, Clav seems to exhibit this idea that, hey, I want to, make it clear here that if I just give the information, people might be inclined to go and just use the pharmaceuticals that I'm using, and that could be a detriment to them. Now, he did this in the previous interview with Andrew Callahan, and the point I made then is still, I would say, accurate now, where it's like, okay, yes, he can show this idea that he's concerned about how people are going to take the information that he provides or the things that he does and then do them incorrectly. At the same time, he still does that irregardless. He still talks about these drugs that he does use, and people are inevitably going to do that. So it almost feels like, I don't want to say disingenuous, but he doesn't seem to understand that he's already causing that issue, regardless of him going through his stack or his protocol right now with this interviewer.
Oh, well, let me ask you this then. Can we run through a few things? When did you start taking testosterone?
When I was 14 years old.
14 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
What possessed you to start doing that?
All right, there's the first one. What possessed you to start doing that? This may be a Quintio special, Quintio opinion. If you are interviewing somebody and you want to conduct the best interview, you need to put your bias towards that person aside. Whether you respect them or don't, you treat them with respect and you get the best answers that you can out of them. Because treating them like they're lesser than you or treating them like they're insane is a surefire way to get them to close up or to become confrontational and start, going back and forth with you, which is exactly what happens in this. And this is the first, very direct, okay, what possessed you to do that? And he catches on. He's still willing to go through the interview, probably because it was 60 minutes. But you're going to see this just get worse and worse over the course of this next 40 minutes.
What possessed me to start doing that? Well, I would say that one of the main reasons I started was a lot of people on forums and were sort of talking about this. And just from the objective point of view that there's no reason for me to go to the gym and work out in any way other than the most efficient one, and that was with anabolic steroids. So it's sort of like a cheat code, and that's how I thought about it.
What about bone smashing? I've heard you speak about that. What does that involve?
Well, it's exactly how it sounds. I mean, you're just creating microfractures in specific areas of your face, and the idea behind it comes from Wolff's Law, right? So when you break down a bone, it grows back stronger. So you're intentionally creating these traumas, typically on your cheekbones, your chin, wherever, in order to grow your bones.
He is now, in depth, explained what bone smashing is, even further than he did during the previous interview. He's given a pretty detailed answer. He's going to ask questions about what things mean here and there and whatnot. He doesn't ask about Wolff's Law. He isn't going to ask about some other things, but he is... Well, I'll let it play. But keep in mind, he has answered that quite eloquently for Clavicular, more importantly. I'm sadly too employed to continue, but have fun, broski. Keep that milk flowing. Thank you very much, Nico.
And meth. I've seen
To grow your bones.
And meth. I've seen you say you take meth. Do you do that for your appearance?
Not anymore, but I have previously, yeah.
Why would you do that? Why?
Stimulants suppress your appetite, and that is a stimulant with a very long half-life, meaning the suppression of your appetite lasts the entire day.
So to go back one, just to clarify, you take a blunt instrument to your face and repeatedly hit it. What does that achieve?
I'll typically use my fist.
What do you get out of that? That just sounds like you're doing damage to yourself.
Well, I just explained it, right?
What do you get out of that? That just sounds like you're doing damage to yourself.
Well, I just explained it, right? So you're creating microfractures in specific parts of your face, like typically your cheekbones. And according to Wolff's Law, it'll grow back stronger and bigger. So you're hypertrophying your bones.
I already would have, I'm watching this, I'm hearing him do this. And at the second I was like, are we actually doing an interview, or are you just you can guffaw at how dumb the responses by Clavicular are, or you can say that, what he's explaining is bullshit. But if I was being interviewed, I gave a pretty good answer to what's going on. And then he follows up and asks the same question again. What are we doing? Aren't you supposed to be a professional? You got your answer. Probably one of the more, thoroughly answered questions that he's ever been presented. And he asks again, a minute after, not even a minute after. This is it. For this, and okay, so 60 Minutes Australia is very confrontational, always has been. That's okay. You can be confrontational. So fucking spittle. You can be confrontational without being a moron. What does repeating this achieve other than making it very clear that this guy thinks lowly of Clav and is I don't know, ignoring his answers. He's not even contending with the information that Clav brings up. Now, well, I'll let this continue. I have a point for later on, but this part was just okay, you already got your answer. So what are we doing?
Doctors and medical experts will listen
Bigger, so you're hypertrophying your bones.
Doctors and medical experts will listen to what you say and shake their head and go, "You're crazy for doing that," and it sends a horrible message. Do you deny that?
I don't really think that they would. And I really haven't seen too many people who have actually looked into my content and the specifics beyond just reporter headlines and out of context clips. with people really disagreeing with my actual unironic looksmaxxing advice. Now, obviously with me being a full-time streamer, sometimes, jokes are made or recreational, things will be used that don't pertain to looksmaxxing, and that could sort of be thrown into the loop. But in terms of like all these peptides and that kind of thing, I don't really think that many doctors would disagree. I would say that.
Really quick. So the 60 Minutes, so I ended up looking further into 60 Minutes here, and they had it's like a 27-minute version of this talk about looksmaxxing, and they reached out to other looksmaxxers. There's another one in Queensland, some other thing, and I went through the full video. And this individual here that's interviewing him, he sits down with a psychologist as well as another doctor who does plastic surgery, things like that. And they both give him information and good examples as to what's going on here. The plastic surgeon is talking about, why these things don't really work, how bone smashing doesn't really have any research to back it up, saying that swelling is kind of, just kind of, she's more likely, she's attributing it to being more likely that they're just, that they're just going through puberty. And that's why their jaw is shaping up in the way that it does, and has much less to do with bone smashing. He could bring this shit up. Admittedly, I don't know the timeline. I don't know if he asked these individuals, these professionals, before he had his interview with Clav. But multiple times he's just going to be like, well, doctors think this or doctors think that. And he doesn't give any, just verifiable anything to show Clav, which I feel like would be the right thing to do in a situation like this, because that's kind of how you get an individual like this in a moment like that, like the gotcha moment. And he just doesn't. And he doesn't press on that in any way, because I don't think he came with anything prepared. And you're just going to see it over and over again. It's just, it's annoying to me at the very least. I don't know.
Most people are coming around to taking peptides. Most people are coming around to GLP-1s. And the percentage of people who are taking them has grown rapidly.
Have you suffered any side effects from what you do?
Not really, because like I said before, if you actually, do comprehensive research, you know how to mitigate these side effects. Like testosterone could cause your hair to fall out, but if you take something like dutasteride, which is a 5-AR inhibitor, then you're not going to have any issues with that in most cases.
I've heard you describe.
So this is a moment. Now don't get me wrong. I don't like this interviewer. I don't like how condescending he is. I don't like how he treats Clav during this interview, because he very clearly already has an agenda. But at the same time, Clav is still a moron. And Clav will say dumb shit. For example, like this. Have you had any side effects? He has very openly talked about the fact that he believes that he is infertile at this point, and that's because of his testosterone use. He also, and you heard him there, explain, well, if you take testosterone, your hair might go out, your hair might, fall out and you start balding. So you take another drug, and that drug will have a side effect. So you need to take another drug. And then there's this endless cycle of taking one drug to minimize the, or remove the side effects of one of the other drugs. And he seems to be just completely, I don't know, separated from that, or he believes because he takes this entire cycle to reduce any of them, that somehow that's good. And that means no side effects. I guess technically he'd be right if he hasn't experienced them and he just took 6 drugs at the same time to balance each other out.
Describe yourself as infertile. Is that true?
In most cases.
I've heard you describe yourself as infertile. Is that true?
I haven't officially been tested, but I've just been kind of going based on my anecdotal experiences. But yes, that is extremely likely due to the fact that I've been suppressed for a very long time because of my exogenous hormone usage.
Then why on earth is it worth it?
Well, first of all, that's honestly like a pretty mog side effect if you think about it, due to the fact that it's extremely
being infertile, pretty mog side effect, chat. Pretty mog.
Easy to, honestly, like a pretty mog side effect if you think about it, due to the fact that it's extremely easy to restart your fertility with fertility drugs like HMG and HCG.
Mogging.
So just really quick, actually it's pretty mog, because you can use a drug to get rid of the side effect. So you can just restart your fertility. Now, again, I don't know the legitimacy of how effective getting these things to restart your fertility are. especially when he's done this stuff at such a young age. Curious if there's any doctors for some reason that end up watching this, if they have any information on that. But he speaks with it with a lot of confidence. But continuing on.
What do you mean by that?
In HCG.
Mogging. What do you mean by that?
In that context, I just mean it's awesome. It's good.
Watching your content is like learning another language sometimes. You talk about ascending, mogging. Can you explain to me what that means?
He could ask about Wolf's Law. He could ask about, I don't know, multiple other terms that haven't, really been brought up a ton. He asked about ascending, which I'm not going to lie, context clues do so much for you here. And he just explained what mogging is. I think that maybe this is directed towards a larger age demographic. Obviously, it's 60 minutes. Duh, it is targeted for them. But when you ask shit like this, especially after he's described it, and you're like, it's a completely different language. What's ascending and mogging? Like, I don't know. It feels performative at this point that he's going out of his way.
Ascending is just getting better looking, so looksmaxxing, and mogging. I guess there's sort of a lot of context that it could be used in. Like, for example, I just said it's a mog side effect, but generally has a positive meaning behind it. So you could mog someone, and you could height mog them. You could be taller. So it typically means like outshining someone in some regard.
Are you mogging me right now?
Well, in what metric?
Any?
Status mogging.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, like I might be status mogging you, maybe. I don't know. You're fine. Like potentially, money mogging. Who's to say, right? I don't know. But like, those are different types of mogs that you could achieve on someone. It doesn't only pertain to looks, right? So there's all types of mogs.
Are you mogging me right now? Are you mugging me right now? This is one of my favorite parts of the entire thing. What's right now just about to happen?
To looks, right? So there's all types of mogs.
Well, your whole persona and shtick is about appearance and looks, right? So would you say your looks mogging me right
now? I can't really see you, to be fair. It's kind of hard with the light. The camera's quite far away, so I'll just give it to you.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see.
All right. Well, how about this? If I was to come to you for advice, which you give out readily, would you say that I need to do something to myself to ascend or live a better life?
Well, the issue is you're just giga far away on a laptop screen, so I wouldn't be able to really say what you could do. It's just very far away. Sorry about that.
I find it fascinating to.
So visually, are you mogging me right now? Clav says it's really hard to see. So I can't really tell. So I'm just gonna say like, yeah, you got me there. Okay. Let me fucking think in my genius interviewer brain what the next question should be. He can't see me. Okay, so in your humble opinion, is there anything that I could do to look better? He can't see him. He can't see you. Why would you follow up with another fucking question being like, he can't see him. He's got lights in his face and he's saying that he can't see you. Why are you asking a follow-up about your appearance to him? It's so stupid. Like he's not listening to him. I'd give him more credit if he just fucking listened to what Clavicular's saying, but he's not listening to him. Like I don't understand what's going on. Why is this guy interviewing Clav? He's like, he sounds so normal in response to him. He's like, yeah, you're just like, you're gigafart. Like, I don't really know how to, I can't really give you appearance to like, At this point, I would just be like I'd be done. I would be done. This is the second time that he's asked a follow-up question that just doesn't make any sense. Like the first time it's like, okay, I already answered what bone smashing is. You're just asking out of like bewilderment, I guess. And then the second was like, he's just not taking logic for it. I can't see you. Why are you asking me about your appearance? It's just, again, like for me, I guess maybe it's because 60 Minutes was something that I watched when I was younger. Like we literally would watch some like 60-minute interviews when it was interesting people. And never once did I think like, wow, 60 Minutes is being kind of stupid. Maybe because I was a kid. But I'm looking at this like, this is such a moronic interview. Like Clav is looking normal in comparison to this guy asking these questions, clearly not a fan of the guy. And you don't even have to be a fan. You could just be normal with him. I didn't watch 60 Minutes Australia. I just watched 60 Minutes US. But I didn't even know there was a difference.
Talking to you, I feel like you're a very different person face to face than the persona you give out online. Do you believe half the stuff you say?
Do I believe half the stuff I say? So
Why would you ask somebody this? Like, what is he expecting at this point? You know what, actually? Yeah. I don't believe half the stuff I say. I'm actually just running a cartoon here. I'm running a facade to steal people's money. I'm just bullshitting here. What? Of course he believes what he says. Am I crazy? What is this question? This is such a nothing burger question.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I find it fascinating talking to you. I feel like you're a very different person face to face than the persona you give out online. Do you believe half the stuff you say?
Do I believe half the stuff I say? So what are you saying? I'm inauthentic?
I'm just curious that is a lot of what you say on your videos and online about gaining attention more than necessarily it being what you truly believe?
In terms of streaming, yeah, like a lot of the activities that I do, like, clubbing every day, doing certain activities like that. Is that something I would do if I wasn't a content creator? No. So that part is, I guess you could say, just for virality. I'm a pretty sheltered person. I, like to spend time to myself, ideally. So all those experiences where I'm going out and about, talking to people, maybe that's not the most real version of myself, but everything I talk about in regards to looksmaxxing in my philosophy, that's 100% real.
That's a better answer than I was ever expecting Clav to give. It separates that, okay, yeah, I do things to go viral. I do clubbing. I drink these things that don't even, line up with what I'm telling people to do in regards to lookmaxing. But in regard to looksmaxxing specifically, because he's reading the room, which I could not say the same thing about Clav in the last interview. And he's like reading through the question being like, okay, you're asking if the looksmaxxing stuff, if I believe that. And he gives an honest response. And he's like, yeah, I actually do believe that that's true. And again, unexpectedly, I'm like, okay, Clav is giving reasonable answers to these questions, even though they are dripping with this condescension that he just can't get rid of.
Why do you think you have become so extraordinarily popular among young men?
Because looksmaxxing was the key thing that was missing from the manosphere and a lot of male internet spaces. And it's kind of the answer, right? So, you could overcome a lot of disparities by becoming rich, by becoming famous, or whatever type of success. But if you're not physically attractive, then you won't be able to really have lasting relationships with women. You won't really gain a lot of respect from people around you. And you're treated differently right off the bat because of something called the halo effect, right? And that's a horrible thing to have to overcome your whole life if you're not genetically well off.
He's never going to ask him about the halo effect, which I'm blown away by. That's something that's interesting. He doesn't fully explain the halo effect. Just you get the implication that if you look better, you improve in these other facets. And he could kind of drill in here about, hey, it's interesting that you bring that up, that you can't have long-lasting relationships with women unless you look good, which is again, it's interesting. Like old people usually don't look the greatest. Like you get old and that happens. men finally realize that pretty privilege exists. Pretty privilege exists, and that's what his focus is on. That, okay, if you start looking better, then all these other things will benefit from you. Now, Clav is very clearly missing out on the fact that, like, if you have charisma, if you have, any of these other things, that you're funny, that you're very intelligent, these other things, that you can more often than not just kind of get past the fact that you're not as good looking. It still plays a role. And it just feels like everyone dances around the idea that maybe Clav is speaking from the truth, like from the stats that he brings up. Maybe all of that is truthful, but maybe the ways that these people are attempting to achieve this better, look is the dangerous part. But for some reason, and this interviewer is going to do it as well, he's going to be like, but isn't, being kind better than looksmaxxing? Isn't, just being charismatic? Like, of course, if you're charismatic, of course, if you're intelligent, of course, if you're any of these other things, you're going to benefit in our society. But it seems like everyone just wants to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as opposed to just focusing on, okay, well, Clav, you're not a fucking doctor, and you're telling people to, like, take peptides and stuff that haven't even had the long-term research to see what long-term side effects might end up being. That's the issue. We all agree with that. But everyone's just focused on, just be friends with people. Just figure it out the other way. Become a comedian, become charismatic, take lessons in that. And I don't know why everyone passes on that. Early onset, I'm gay. Congratulations, hell yeah.
See, now, I would disagree and make the argument, Clav, that character, personality, maturity, intelligence are far more important than appearance. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, bingo, there it is. But those are all perceived entirely differently, once again, based on your looks. So you're absolutely correct. You're just forgetting that key piece of nuance that is kind of the reason that my message resonates so well.
He's not really wrong. The difference between a creep and someone that hit on you is usually their appearance, and, like, the gradient for how I don't know, vile they can be with a pickup line kind of extends based on that. That's not crazy. That, yeah, these other aspects of your life kind of do improve because pretty privilege is a thing. That's not crazy. But, like, I would even say that that's still a pretty shallow thing. You could explore more of that. But this interviewer isn't going to do it. He's just going to kind of move on past it and not even delve into that. Like,
do you think that sends the wrong message to vulnerable, insecure men?
I think it's a hard thing to hear at first if you're someone who is genetically not good looking, if you're telling them that the world revolves around being good looking, because now they have to overcome this seemingly impossible obstacle in their life and potentially, do all these pharmaceutical drugs, get plastic surgeries, whatever. But this is true, and we have a lot of data to back it up. So how people respond to this sort of brutal reality is up to them. But yeah, you're certainly right. It could send people into spirals, give them severe body dysmorphia, whatever. But it's just a reality pill that needs to be out there.
But see, I disagree, Clav. I don't think appearance is as important as you're suggesting.
Do you think that if you were bald, if you were fat, that you would be...
Okay, sorry. This is leading into, again, one of my favorite parts. When it comes down to... so hold on.
Respond to this sort of...
So honestly, kind of a good point. Yeah, you're kind of introducing this, and he's like, yeah, that can cause body dysmorphia. That can do, that can do some serious damage to somebody's psyche to grapple with the idea that they are not conventionally attractive, and that's going to impact their life. There's something really big there, like to present somebody with this idea that there is a something out of their control. Like how they look, for the most part, out of their control compared to, like, losing weight. Your face, the way that you were born, just genetics, how it is, you're not as conventionally attractive, and that's going to impact you. For Clav to put so much of a focus on that in his message and say that has a much bigger impact on your life than you realize, that could be soul crushing. Because let's say you don't have the money to do these other things that Clav is going to suggest you do, like take a weekly peptide or do one of these things. It is a terrible, position to put someone in, to get them into a mindset where there is something that impacts them so negatively and there is little to nothing they can do about it. It's just like any other situation. If you're like, I don't know, playing a video game or in any other part of your life and you want to get better at something, as soon as you get it into your head that there's something out of your control that you do little to impact, it takes the motivation to try to improve in any way completely out of you. That is something that I think is worth diving into. Again, it won't be dove into. I think that's a great angle to take it in, but we're just going to move past that. And now Clav is going to set up a hypothetical after he's talking with him about, well, if you were fat and ugly, do you think that you'd be a journalist? And this seems like the most obvious slam dunk. And because of his prior behavior during this interview, it ends up being that Clav kind of shits on him a little. I'll show you.
Brutal reality is up to them, but yeah, you're certainly right. It could send people into spirals, give them severe body dysmorphia, whatever, but it's just a reality pill that needs to be out there.
But see, I disagree, Clav. I don't think appearance is as important as you're suggesting.
Do you think that if you were bald, if you were fat, that you would be doing this interview, that you would be a journalist?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I would tell you that it's very unlikely that you would have the career that you do if you didn't have, the looks package. That's really what it comes down to. Like you'll see a lot of media personalities with full heads of hair, generally in shape, and that's what it comes down to.
See, again, I disagree. Do you not think there are bald, overweight journalists?
Of course I do, but I'm just saying you would have had to overcome that disparity by being a lot better in other metrics to have the career that you do.
So he's right. This is a dumb hypothetical. There are bald, fat journalists. They exist, absolutely. There are not as attractive people that are journalists. And he's like, well, you would have had to, if you weren't as attractive, you would have had to, come up in other aspects of your life to, make up for that. And it's really funny that he has conducted himself so poorly in this interview, the journalist, that I hear this and immediately I'm like, oh, that makes sense why you suck so much. Because he's eye candy. Like he's a generally attractive looking dude. And it seems like maybe that's gotten him, I haven't seen any of his other stuff, but it appears that's gotten him a bit further than he has any right to be based off of this interview. Like he's not good. I don't like how he's doing this. And it's just like, I don't even think Clav notices that. I don't even think Clav was making that point at this particular moment. But God, if he did, he'd be done. Like he would have mogged the shit out of him. The headlines would have been different.
The people who follow you, do you feel the weight of responsibility at all? And do you reflect on the fact that the people following you are looking for something, looking for some guidance, and you might be sending them down a really dark, sad path?
Again, he does this multiple times where he sets up questions like very clearly. These are, what is that called? A loaded question. He's implying that by people doing the stuff that Clav is suggesting that they do, that leads them down a dark, sad path. In what way does it? Because maybe it does. Maybe that is honest to God truth, that it is putting people in a worse off place. But how? Like he's just saying that it does without giving any example of what that means.
Well, yeah, I do feel responsible for the advice that I give, and that's why I didn't just go through a laundry list of different things that I take, and try to have people replicate them without all the background that they need to do things successfully. But going a little bit further into it, do I feel responsible for the mental state that people could be in by realizing the importance of looks and not being potentially good looking? Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm responsible because I'm putting the message out there and I'm the content creator, but am I supposed to feel bad if someone just gets, brutally insecure or starts having body dysmorphia? It's like, why is that responsibility on me? How people react?
And this is really interesting for me because you just kind of get to see another glimpse into why Clav is the way that he is. Because he is so confident about his worldview and about how important looks are to you in society that it isn't a question to him. He is saying like you need to come to this understanding that it is as important as I believe it is, and that's the honest to God truth. And there's nothing that anyone could say that could convince him otherwise. He's just at this point where this is what the world is. Like, to be that confident in that delusion, I would say, like, again, there's truth to it, but I don't think it's to the extreme that Clav brings it to, and that the looksmaxxing community brings it to. Great example of that is how he conducts himself in the interview. Like, he's also not doing the best job himself. As much as I dislike the guy, he has a couple of great moments, pointing out that Clav is kind of insane. Take care, brother. Good luck with the chores.
Act to that messaging.
Well, people would say because you are the person sending that message out. We see people taking hammers to their face and bone smashing. We see people talking about taking drugs because they look at you, a rather attractive young man, and they want to emulate that and emulate you. So do you feel bad about that?
So do you think people are better off living in a fantasy land that is essentially just a matrix? Not to sound, like the typical, matrix talking point, but it really is like copium fantasy land stuff to tell people that their looks don't matter.
But surely, Clav, it is a happier world when people don't sit there and obsess over their looks to the point they're hitting themselves in the face with a blunt object.
What are we doing? What's about having a happier world? Like, Clav is clearly showing the delusional side of what he's experiencing. That for you to not care about looks as much as he does, you're huffing copium, you're in fantasy land. That is such a great thing to point out and maybe even just address for the viewership. Like, you're not even trying to convince Clav that he's wrong here, but just pointing out that that's how serious he takes it, that he believes that you are delusional yourself to not take it as seriously as he does. And instead, we go a different direction.
People don't sit there and obsess. Surely, Clav, it is a happier world when people don't sit there and obsess over their looks to the point they're hitting themselves in the face with a blunt object.
He also just kind of like, what is that called? When you try to not downsize, not minimize, he's, what is that called? He's generalized or dumbed down the bone smashing thing to just hitting yourself with a blunt object, kind of ignoring that other piece that he was explaining. Again, that's not as much of a push, but he's like, you think that that's better? And he just kind of, belittles the idea of it without even, seeming to have taken it that Clav believes that he has a genuine explanation as to why you would bone smash. Just like, well, wouldn't it be better if people didn't obsess about that? It's like, don't people obsess about their jobs and their careers and do everything they can to have the best career they can? They lose friendships. They don't have a family because they're devoted to that. We've got, fucking, is the world a better place because Jeff Bezos and fucking Elon Musk have focused so hard on their job in making money that they've created these, monstrous monopolies, I guess Bezos more so with Amazon. And not even necessarily say that I agree with that opinion, but yeah, obsessing with something is usually not great because it's obsessive, because it takes away from the other parts of your life. But the way it's just such a shallow question to respond to this with, in my humble opinion.
Well, I mean, why? If looks are the most important metric, why wouldn't you do anything and everything to maximize it?
Because there are probably more important things in life than looking good, don't you think?
If looks are so important, why wouldn't you obsess about them? Oh, because maybe they're not. So he's not even dancing with the hypothetical. He just moves on to the next point.
Like what?
Like being happy, like having connections, friendships, family.
Well, like we talked about before, if you're physically unattractive, it's unlikely that you'll be able to have these romantic relationships that you're talking about. So it all comes back to looks at the end of the day.
That's a stupid response. That is an objectively stupid response. Well, you can't have these relationships. He mentions family. He mentions friends. You can't have those relationships if you're not good looking. That's a stupid response. Clav looks like a dumbass here, right? That's fair. That's reasonable.
Having connection.
Like what?
Like being happy. Like having connection.
Being happy. So he's saying, oh, instead of looking good, you could be happy. Making the implication that you can't be happy while looksmaxxing. It's not possible.
Friendships, family.
Well, like we talked about.
Clav still somehow fucks this up, which I'm blown away by. But like, holy shit, still a stupid question.
Before, if you're physically unattractive, it's unlikely that you'll be able to have these romantic relationships that you're talking about. So it all comes back to looks at the end of the day. We're not disagreeing. It's just that key element that you're missing, that you can only achieve certain things if you're good looking to begin with.
But I mean, let's be honest. People who you might perceive to be unattractive have partners, relationships, and live incredibly happy lives. Doesn't that contradict what you're saying?
What? Because we could go through a couple anecdotes of a guy you know or a guy you're friends with who's fat but has a girlfriend. No, it doesn't, because this is a general rule. We're talking about society, in a bird's eye view. We're going into the entire sociology of this. This is not just singular anecdotes.
Gives Clav a layup. He literally does some people are like that. Clav is right. General rule of thumb, yes, like privilege is a thing. This is not crazy. This is not mind-blowing. But he's so far into disliking Clavicular that whatever Clav is saying, whatever points that he has, have to be incorrect and have to be completely false. Like, this is how you dumb yourself down when you start to dislike someone this much, or when you start to have this much bias against someone. It makes you sound like a moron when you try to interact with them, when you try to engage with them. This is why I went into doing YouTube, trying to focus on, if I'm covering something where there's two sides of it, I want to maintain somewhat of like a recognition of where I'm at mentally so that you guys understand. Because if I don't and I just pick a side, I'm going to look like a dipshit when I'm trying to engage with anything that the opposition is saying. And this is on full display here.
What's your motivation behind doing this? What do you want to achieve? Is this all for you about getting women?
No, because there's a lot more that goes into it. I think that it's really not the hardest thing in the world to get women through other metrics. So maybe you could, find some success in other areas besides taking extreme measures like bone smashing, like peptides. Maybe you could just have an extremely high status in your area, whatever. There's plenty that you could do.
And for the record, in his previous interview with Andrew Callahan, he dismisses bone smashing and saying that there are little to no results. But he's caught up in this argument with him and talking about bone smashing so much. Maybe this happened before his interview with Andrew Callahan. I don't even know. But it's weird that he's so focused on bringing it up and almost like kind of defending it or giving reasoning behind it when he himself is like, I don't really do it and I don't really recommend it out of any other looksmaxxing techniques, which is just weird. He talked about doing it 2 separate bone jaw surgeries during a live stream I think he did with Nick Fuentes, but I don't know if he ever did them.
Extreme measures like bone smashing, like peptides. Maybe you could just have an extremely high status in your area, whatever. There's plenty that you could do. And also, you're really not going to gain much from women. I'm talking about quality of life, the way that people treat you, the halo effect. So every interaction that you go into, you're going to be better off with a good looks package. So that's sort of what I'm looking for. Success of your career, everything. That's what I'm looksmaxxing for. So if you're taking all these extreme measures just for women, that might be a little bit silly, but there's just an entire, complete picture that goes into it.
Are you giving women a little bit of a hard time here, Clav?
I don't think so. I think if I also gave my opinion on the current state of men, that would maybe make it a little bit more fair as well. I mean, can you really blame most women for not wanting to be with this generation of men who are not financially well off, who are, typically not good looking because of hair. 2/3 of men by 21 having hair loss. Most men are having severe addictions to pornography. There's so many issues with the male space as well that I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, women not wanting to date bottom percentile men is such a horrible thing and we need to make a law forcing them to. It's like, that's not my point at all. There's a problem with dating in general. So that's the clarity I'd give you there.
Not crazy. The journalist, for some reason, believes that Clav hates women. Hear me out. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is my ego talking. But he answers with this follow-up question. Well, do you think those are the only metrics that women care about? Do you think that there's other metrics that may be important that you're not considering that are also very useful in the dating scene? Don't know what they are, but maybe that would help. But instead, we're not going to do that. He's just going to work on this and make Clav appear to have a reasonable take here. He's going to look more level-headed because he's like, well, no, he does do this. He sees them as rules. Well, I think you meant as tools. Yeah, and he treats them like that when he's on his live streams, when he's doing the club dancing stuff. He's literally just going from one to the other and kissing them. It's very clear that he doesn't have the respect for them. He doesn't really treat men the same way unless they're working with him too. For the most part, when I'm watching Clav, he seems to treat both similar. Calls them femboids. Yeah, I've also heard that one, but
women will watch this and see what you're saying and hear what you're saying and shake their heads and go, no, you don't know what you're talking about. We're not like that at all.
Well, if they actually thought about it and weren't being performative, then they would realize I'm completely right.
Performative?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
To make it clear, no, I'm not saying that he doesn't hate women, so his behavior is fine. That's not at all what I just said. I'm saying that he might. The answer that he gave was not hateful towards women, but this interviewer genuinely believes that he does and is not willing to entertain having a dialogue with the guy because he has his preconceived perception of who Clav is and what he thinks. And so he gets caught up on shit like this. And these are very interesting answers that he's giving. He's like, well, women are being performative. They're acting like they don't. They're acting this way when they actually believe this. But how would he know that? He explains it as because of their behavior.
About it and weren't being performative, then they would realize I'm completely right.
This is actually leading into one point that the journalist makes that is a great point and makes Clav look like a moron.
Performative?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I would just say that women say a lot of things, but if you watch the way that they act, it's typically complete opposite, right? So you see how just on my IRL streams, I'm such a bad guy and the personality matters, whatever, you're saying, you're saying I'm being so critical of women, but, whenever I go out to the club, they're all hanging with me, not the, feminist jesters who are standing in the general admittance section.
Feminist jesters? What do you mean by that?
I just mean people who are reposting liberal media on their Instagram, trying to sort of be white knights for women and that sort of thing. And then I go out and do my streams and they're all hanging with me. So, they might say things, but watch the way they act, it's totally different.
Isn't that just a reflection of the places you're hanging out, not the kinds of people and the women you're coming across?
True. It's true. Genuinely one of the best points that he makes this entire thing. So clear. Yeah, it's how you're, and also Clav is very one-dimensional in how he believes, things are happening. And what I mean by that is he thinks that because he's good looking and because he's to a degree womanizing, he's just going around making out with a bunch of women, going between them, things like that, that women like that because they hang out around him. And not this idea that they are trying to leech clout off of him, that they want to be on stream, that they want to be a part of this celebrity's little entourage. This is not, that's not an alien thing. I can't remember what it's called, but when concerts or when rock stars would go from, go on tour and stuff. They have, what is it, like roadies or something? I can't remember the name of like people that are showing up to every concert. It's like women that want to be around them. I can't remember the name of it. But there's other reasons as to why they'd be hanging around him, but he believes full-heartedly that it has to be because he's good looking. Groupies, thank you. Another, like, that is genuinely probably the best point that I think that the journalist points out and like makes it clear.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but that's generally just the world in general. And that's my anecdote because those are the places that I stream at, but there's examples across the board, really.
Well, let me put this to you then, okay? You mentioned feminist gesturing, or however you described it. I would say to you, Clav, that some of my most cherished friendships and influences in my life are 100% women. I'm curious to know what you think that says about me.
So most of the friends in your life are women?
I said some of the most cherished friends in my life are women.
I don't really see a problem with that at all. I mean, I have plenty of female friends.
This is such an awkward fuck. What does he expect? Like, I don't know what he's expecting here. Clav is 20 years old. What is he expecting in this question here? Was he expecting to be like, so this is the point I was making. He has a preconceived notion that Clav is a part of the manosphere. This happens to him a lot. And he very clearly, whether like you agree with it or not, he very clearly has a different thought process on women than how the manosphere does. If you've seen the manosphere documentary, you know what I'm talking about. He is similar in other facets, but this guy doesn't behave the same way. He doesn't have the same like direct hatred for women, and it's not nearly as like, I don't know, not transparent, but like it's not as blatant as the rest of the manosphere. I think that this guy is assuming that Clav believes that you can't be friends with women because he does go clubbing a lot and he does make out with a ton of women around him. And so I think he was anticipating something like, that's bullshit. Like you can't have, cherished friendships with women. You can't cherish those friendships because they're women. And he didn't get that. And so you have this moment where Clav is also like, what's going on? Which is, I don't know, really goofy to me.
I don't really see a problem with that at all. I mean, I have plenty of female friends.
Women would listen, though, to what you're saying and consider it misogynistic and sexist. Are you those things?
Would they really? I mean, I just also called out the state of men in 2026 with, OnlyFans subscriptions, pornography addictions, financially terrible off. So I think I'm just calling out sort of what's wrong with both sides of the aisle. So I don't really think that's misogynistic at all.
Is this what you're doing really a solution to any of it?
Is what I'm doing a solution? I think it's sort of the best option that people have nowadays because it's a lot easier to sort of ascend and transform your life through looks than becoming like a media star or some sort of, millionaire to be able to start getting girls. So that's why I advocate for looksmaxxing. Absolutely.
So again, sure. Becoming a millionaire, probably a bit tougher than taking a blunt object and, bone smashing or, I guess like not eating as much. Sure. But this other part, like becoming a superstar and stuff, like he's talking about the status of it, like women being more interested in men with a higher status. But the status thing usually comes from either having a ton of money, being charismatic, good looking, or a mix of all three. And so like, even in this answer, there's still a bit of shallowness to it where he's like not even recognizing the fact that it's these other aspects of like why someone becomes a superstar because they're, very charismatic because of these other things. Clav is not charismatic. He's not in that sense. He has really bad social anxiety. There's these other parts of it that are important. But again, he doesn't believe that those are as achievable because they aren't nearly as achievable for him. And so he went the different route. He ended up blowing up because he's a bit of a lolcow already at this point. And the looksmaxxing journey for him did work. Like he did have a glow up that also could have, for the most part, just been attributed to the fact that he went through puberty. But he doesn't see it that way now because his, worldview was confirmed by the fact that he ended up blowing up on this journey.
Absolutely, because really anyone could do it.
Do you think you're making the world a better place?
I do.
How?
Well, I'm sort of informing people and giving them that key piece that they were looking for on why their life might not be going in the direction that they want it to.
What do you think is more important? Looking good or just being kind to the people around you?
That is by far one of the dumbest fucking questions that I have ever heard in an interview, bar none. Being kind to the people around you or looking good? Which one's better? Which one's better, chat? Is it better to be to be hot or to treat people nicely? What? Why is this the choice? Why are we choosing between these two things?
More important in terms of what? You just have to specify.
More important for all of us.
More important for, like, your personal ethics, or like, some sort of thing that you're trying to achieve? Like, are we talking about, like, getting women, getting friendships, what?
Would you think you'd be giving a better service?
I'm thinking from like a results-driven perspective, so you're gonna have to clarify that a little bit better.
Do you think you would be doing more for your community, for the world, by just being nice and pleasant to the people beside you or online, than just doing everything you can to look good and encouraging others to do the same?
But you're asking this question as if those things are mutually exclusive at all. What, can you not be a good-looking person who looks maxes and be nice? Like, even if you were to say that, you don't like me personally and you don't like the content I do, it's not like, people can't looks max and not be a piece of shit, if that's what you're implying.
Clav dusted him. Like, I don't understand. Okay, so at first, sure, being kind to people, but then Clav asks him to explain. And it becomes very clear that the question is that false dichotomy, that he believes that if Clav is or anybody is looks maxing, that therefore they are not going to be kind to people because they are looks maxing, which is the dumbest fucking, I can't believe that he asked that question and that's where it came from, that he thought that those things have to be separate. It does not take a rocket scientist to notice that that is a stupid question. The way that it was set up was so easy to dunk on that Clav did it. He gets a W for no good reason. Again, there's so many ways that he has done something really stupid during this interview, or it's shown his very shallow takes. But this interviewer is so, I don't know, like, irritated with the guy that he asked stupid questions like this. Like, I can't believe he did it.
But it doesn't really make any sense.
No, it does, because it's where you draw the line. I mean, you produce content where you rate people's looks, right?
Right.
And then you encourage people to do extreme things, some would see, like smashing a hammer on their face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you think that is a kind thing to be sending out into the world?
Do I think it's a common thing?
A kind thing to be sending out into the world?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really see how that could be something that's kind or not kind. That binary doesn't make any sense. It's just like, is it?
He's just right. Like, is it negative for the world that you are advocating for this? That you are advocating for them to, bone smash when there's no real research to back it? Do you think it's kind to, suggest, or do you think it's a negative to the world or a positive to the world that you're convincing people to take peptides where we don't have the long-term research for them? For sure. But tying it to a moral standard of it being like, is it kind? Are you being kind to these people? Is like, if you're asking somebody who's like the king of this movement, the viewed king, or like the social king of it, if it's kind or not, like, I don't know what he's expecting to get out of that. Kind is the wrong word, and it is confusing, and I don't blame Clav, and I'm blown away that he made it so easy for him, I guess.
Valuable is the information and what could be gained from it valuable, and I do believe that.
You sell courses as part of what you do, right? So that's how you make a living for yourself. Is that right?
Sorry, lead this into this one. This is again this guy believing that Clav is much more tied to the manosphere than he actually is. He's going to start asking about the courses, and the fact that this guy believes that Clav makes the majority of his money from the courses that he has people pay for looksmaxxing. That is not the case for Clav. He is very much so a streamer first. And in the manosphere, it is typically the complete opposite. The streaming can happen, but they make the most of their money from selling courses. That's like very top. It was like very popular during like the guru, make money, knowledge, like that whole era, including I would say Andrew Tate, the other manosphere people that have been talked about. And that's not at all Clav, but this guy has not done his research, apparently.
You sell courses as part of what you do, right? So that's how you make a living for yourself. Is that right?
Not really. I mean, it's one revenue stream, but I would say that most of my income is from streaming, actually.
Okay. In building the following you have, young, some might say, insecure and troubled men looking for something, do you fear or do you think sometimes that you're taking advantage of vulnerable people?
No.
Why not?
Do I feel that I'm taking advantage of vulnerable people? Well, people who are in a horrible position in life because they're not good looking, you come and say, well, here's the answer to why things aren't going so well. That's taking advantage of people. No, it's not. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, what sort of advice are you giving people who come to you and say, I don't like the way I look? Do you advocate for them to be doing extreme things like what you do?
Extremely case dependent.
He sounds rational in regard to all of this. He's like, well, it's case dependent. It's based on this thing. And again, why are you asking the person who is, doing these courses, who is literally has money to make by even just lying to your face here? Do you think that you're being do you think you're taking advantage of these people? Why would he? He's selling a course, and out of anything that I've been able to ascertain from Clav, I believe full-heartedly that he believes that looksmaxxing does work, and it has made him very successful. Out of anybody, why would he think that what he's doing is taking advantage of vulnerable people as opposed to helping them? Because he believes that he was once one of those people, and he has, like, quote unquote ascended. I don't see how he would believe that. And so again, it's like a question that it's like asking the Pringles man if he thinks that he's taking advantage of people. That's not even I don't even know a good analogy for that. You can think you're taking advantage of someone while selling them something too, Quinn, for sure. But would Clav ever say that? Would Clav go, yeah, I'm taking advantage of people that feel like, they need their, that's something that he could pose, that he believes that. But to ask Clav that a question like that in an interview, it's like, well, do you think that you're a bad person, Clav? Like, do you think that you're evil? Do you think that you're a villainous person? Do you think that you're ruining the lives of people? Why would Clav ever in a million years say yes to any of that? Like, he never would. So what is the point of the question? If in an interview like that, if you genuinely believe that, why wouldn't you present questions that would get him to exhibit that kind of behavior to you? I don't even know what that question would be, but this is not it. Like, that's where I'm confused. I guess I misunderstood his comments earlier when he said looksmaxxing was missing from the manosphere. I thought he meant he brought it to it. I think he's talking about the fact that the reason that he has so many followers is because normally those people would go to the manosphere, but they're going to him because he's provided a different solution, which is like focusing on your looks.
What sort of advice have you given out to young men who say, I want to look better? What are you telling them that they should do?
I've said time and time again that leanness is most of what you could accomplish in terms of looksmaxxing. It's going to be the number one thing, because you could do all this stuff, you could grow your bones, whatever, But if you've got all this fat and blubber on top of your bones, then what's it really doing, right? You can't even see any of your facial angularity. So you have to be extremely chiseled, low body fat, 10, 12%, to really know where you're at.
And have you advocated for things like taking drugs, testosterone, and bone smashing?
Have I advocated for that?
Yeah.
I feel like the taking drugs thing, that question, I would just prefer you clarify individual things like testosterone, because you just say drugs, people automatically associate recreational normie drugs, and I always am very clear that those are terrible, right? And I advocate fully against them. But if you're talking about certain pharmaceuticals like testosterone, like human growth hormone, GLP-1s, yeah, I do advocate for those.
So what would you say to a medical expert that says, teenagers shouldn't be doing those things?
Well, I wouldn't ever really talk to most medical experts because they're typically jesters who are operating based off research that was done decades ago. So
do you think
Good. Another great point that is made by the journalist to kind of expose Clav being a bit stupid. He's like, yeah, these doctors, they're being trained on decades old stuff. Like, what do they know? And he's going to bring up the fact that he's talking about peptides and stuff. But the whole reason that we don't take stuff right away is because we need to see what happens long term. That's another big issue. Asbestos was great until it was giving people lung cancer. Like, the CFH chemical or the forever chemicals that they were sticking in fridges and everything else, they were great until we realized that they were staying around forever. Like, that's the whole point. And just because we don't have that research doesn't mean that, okay, it's a green light. And that's a great point to make.
no better than?
So
do you think you know better than doctors?
Not necessarily, but I would say that a lot of the times these doctors are just sort of out of date with a lot of their things that they recommend. They're often getting kickbacks from these big pharmaceutical companies to prescribe certain things instead of what might actually be the answer. So I would definitely say that, there should be a little bit of skepticism there.
There's a lot of skepticism about using a hammer on your jawline as well, Clav.
Well, fair enough. That's fine.
And look, I sit here and think that's a crazy behavior. So what do you say to that? I think it's the last thing anyone should be doing.
I know for a fact that I have, in some ways, treated this interviewer too harshly, or I've given Clav a little too much leniency in some of the other earlier points, probably because of how much I dislike this interviewer. What the fuck is the point of this? Like, I want to do more interviews after watching this because of how much I dislike how this guy did it. What is the point of, like, well, I don't think that it's good. I think it's bad. What do you think about that? Obviously, he doesn't agree with you. Obviously, he wouldn't, because he advocates for it, which you just got him to say. Why does he keep going back to the bone smashing thing? He clearly doesn't like it. He's gotten Clav to admit that he advocates for bone smashing. He's explained it to him 2 separate times. Move on. Move the fuck on. We clearly get that you don't like it and he is okay with it. Okay, what more do you get out of this? There's nothing. I don't understand. Like, there's no fucking point to this.
That's fine.
And look, I sit here and think that's a crazy behavior. So what do you say to that? I think it's the last thing anyone should be doing.
Well, I mean, what do I have to gain by sitting here trying to convince you, right? It's like, don't do it then.
Yeah.
If you're so happy with your life and you don't care about looking better, then don't do it. I'm not going to try to tell you that you have to bone smash or whatever, because it doesn't affect me in any way what other people do. I'm just saying that for the people who want to look better, well, here's an option for you.
He makes Clav look normal when talking about fucking bone smashing. Like, I don't know how you fuck up to this proportion where he just seems normal in comparison.
Don't you think that is just a little bit too far, Clav? injuring yourself to try to make yourself look better?
Injuring yourself? I mean, we're talking about microfractures. You know, so it doesn't even have any risk really if done properly, right? If you're properly bracing your head and you're not a complete imbecile, it's really not that high risk.
I ask you that though because the people who will watch you and emulate that aren't exactly medical experts, and they wouldn't be doing it under any intense supervision. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's dangerous to be suggesting
so you have
people
to go
do
to school
that,
for 10
right?
years to bone smash. I mean, should people have to be medical experts to participate in combat sports, in high school football? So if you want to just call things out for being dangerous, how about you call out, you know, the risk of getting CTE from head trauma in football games or wrestling matches? Like, this is so dangerous, really? I mean,
This is kind of a good point by Clav, because this guy is starting with the argument being like, well, it's dangerous, so you shouldn't do it. Clav looks like, okay, maybe that's a good point. But if you also forget, in a previous interview that, again, he did with Channel 5, Andrew Callahan, Andrew did a bit more research about this. He actually looked into, you know, some of the points that have been made, and he makes mention of the fact that there are long-term issues you can suffer if you bone smash with your jaw. And he brings that up to Clav, and Clav says, well, I just focus on my cheeks. He still did more to talk about that. He also brings up a good point with CTE, because we're coming at it from this point of view. But if this interviewer did some research, he'd be able to point that out, because this is an interview that was just done a few weeks ago where Andrew brings this up. He could bring up any of this stuff, but he doesn't. Matter of fact, he's going to mention earlier, it's like, well, it hurts. And Clav is going to go, well, it doesn't hurt if you do bone smashing correctly. Or it's like, it really doesn't hurt. And like, they start going back and forth about that. But there are clips of Clavicular literally saying, you'll know it's working if it hurts. Like, that's how you know that you're bone smashing correctly, because it hurts, because you're creating this micro... Like, he will just lie to the interviewer. He does do things that are incorrect, or like, he's disingenuous to him. But he's not going to catch him out on it, because he didn't do his research.
who are we kidding here? This is ridiculous.
Do you still do it?
Yeah.
How often?
Sorry?
How often do you do that?
I would say a little bit more infrequently now, but because it's generally harder to cover up the swelling as much with the amount of on-camera appearance that I have and with how up close it gets. So maybe not as frequently, but if I want to just hypertrophy my cheekbones a little bit, I'll get a pump and cover it with some concealer.
See, I listen to that and feel like that can't possibly be worth the pain and the hassle.
The pain?
Yeah.
A bone smashing?
Sounds pretty painful. Admittedly, I've never
Really?
done it.
Really? Well, it's really not. Like, do you think that bone smashing is taking a hammer full-fledged and just whacking yourself in the face? Because that's not what it is at all.
You must be causing some pain and damage though if your face is swelling, Clav.
Well, that's the intention, to create microfractures so the bone grows back stronger.
So again, I mean,
Well, it's swelling, which means that it must hurt. So yeah, so like you're doing damage. And then he's like, yeah, for probably the 5th or 6th time now, this interview, it creates microfractures. Microfractures are not inherently good things. It's a fracture. It is damage. Of course it's going to cause swelling. That's how the body responds to something like that happening. But like, he's like, well, it creates that, so it's bad. Which is maybe a good point, but he keeps it so surface level that it looks like he's having a fucking slapping match with another kid.
I listen to that.
That's the intention, to create microfractures so the bone grows back stronger.
So again, I mean, I listen to that, and I'm not
But
trying to
there's
pick.
a-
I'm not
there's a
trying to
good
pick a fight.
obsession.
I'm not trying to pick a fight with you
Alright.
at all, but I'm
It's
curious.
just so ridiculous. Just
And
so-
this is the hardest he goes into any of the points that Clavs makes. Is this like fighting over if bone smashing hurts and if it's bad for you because it is causing, you know, microfractures or whatever. He literally talks to a doctor about it. Literally talks to a psychologist about this thing at scale. But these things are completely absent in this interview that he has with Clav.
ridiculous.
You know, people will listen to that and go, "Oh, why on earth would you go to that extent?"
Well, it's like we talked about before with the current dating market being so crazy. Like, extraordinary measures aren't that insane. Doesn't doesn't really seem that way to me.
He thinks that, okay, yeah, we should be doing that because the dating market is so crazy. That's like, okay, geez, that's a pretty bad answer. This is kind of weird. But it's coming from, hold on.
So crazy, like extraordinary measure.
You know, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going to these lengths? He's answered that question for looks back. Like, you already know the answer. Clav still gives a weird one. He's like, well, I think it's worth it. I think it's that bad. That's a crazy answer, I think. Like, he does seem to be a little bit delusional in regard to like how important it is to smash your face, to, you know, be lean, to look very attractive in the dating market.
Aren't that insane? Doesn't really seem that way to me.
I'm wondering, what happened in your life, or what was your life growing up, Clav, to make you feel like that this is the answer for you? What motivated you from a really young age to go down this path?
Well, I took a look at a lot of these statistics, and it was based on also personal experiences to a degree. You know, I wasn't good looking growing up, and this left a lot of opportunities off the table. And after I ascended, things just started getting better for me. I mean, kind of look what happened. And it kind of happened in real time while I was posting about it. I got better looking, I got a lot leaner, and I became, you know, a pretty big influencer, right? I made a lot of money. So things just went very well in a lot of areas of my life after I ascended. So I kind of proved my own point there. Wouldn't you say?
You're certainly successful. There's no denying that. But are you saying that's completely attributable to your looks?
Well, it's certainly linear. It's definitely like a one-to-one thing that kind of happened, and I proved that.
That's crazy. That's 100% delusional. He had a one-to-one linear response to the fact that he started to look better because of his looksmaxxing, and that brought him to the popularity that it has. There's so many other people that have also partaken in this. Well, not so many, but there's multiple other figures that have like joined the looksmaxxing thing and have had very dramatic results, or like realistically, it's a lot of them just going through puberty and then looking a lot more conventionally attractive down the road, but they're not nearly as popular as Clavicular. He is very much so not comfortable, it seems like, or he's not aware of it, or he's, you know, disillusioned to the idea that he also kind of had a lightning in a bottle moment, you know, in the same way that I have been lucky with different, you know, content that I have covered, like with Mr. Beast, when I was an absolute nobody. I rode a trend wave, and I got lucky that, you know, I was there at that right time, that I was making videos, and that I had the opportunity to spend so much time doing it. And that, yes, I had other parts, other features of the content that I was doing that made people want to watch it. But, you know, a million viewed video, 100,000 viewed video, when I was nowhere near that before, it wasn't like I dramatically changed in any way. It wasn't like, you know, there was one thing that I could specifically look at. And so there is a lot of luck. And a lot of other celebrities will tell you the exact same thing. Bo Burnham, like, it comes down to luck. And he seems to be allergic to that idea. And so, like, this again is also like, yeah, that is also crazy. I'll give it to the interviewer. He got him into a position where it's showing fully on effect that because Clav was so focused on looksmaxxing, and then he had this huge bit of success, that he fully believes that him ascending and doing these looksmaxxing techniques and bring him to where he was is the reason that he is where he is. Which, again, is fucking crazy.
Can I ask what your parents and your family think of all this?
Well, they're happy for the success.
Do they agree with the methods, though?
My parents are a few generations, obviously, older than me, so I don't really think that they're looking at the specifics of the looksmax as I do.
Give you a bit of information there, by the way, a little bit of deep lore about Clav. His steroids at one point or another, or a peptide, were taken away by his mother because he was ordering them online without their knowledge, and she thought it was dangerous. I cannot imagine that they're very happy with what he's doing in those terms. I think he's got a spot-on question here.
Do you think this generation, your generation, seriously, are going to start going down this path en masse?
Start going down this path and start looksmaxxing?
Yeah, do you seriously think that this is...
I do.
what people...
I mean, just look at the percentage of people who started taking GLP-1s, right? It's a good chunk of the country.
Wait, you seriously think that people are going to start looksmaxxing? Seriously? You've got thousands of people watching you that literally have started doing this. You have the Ozempic wave crashing over the entire United States and other places. You really think that people are going to start looksmaxxing? Brother, they already have. Like, again, it's just dripping through that he just has such disdain for him. And it pollutes his entire interview. And I guess it's just me. I don't know. I'd be very curious to hear what, people think of the video that I end up making of this. But it's just, I don't understand like how he got to a point where he's asking questions like this and being this blatantly, venomous to Clav.
And it's going to keep going.
In this chat, can I just say, this isn't a criticism, but you don't give off this sense that you're incredibly happy and fulfilled. I'm wondering, Clav, do you live a happy, fulfilling life?
I would say for the most part I do. I just generally don't want to be doing this right now. I had something else I had to do.
What am I keeping you from?
I wanted to go to a club.
Is that your idea of fun, going to the club?
Well, I mean, maybe it's not the most enjoyable activity, but it'd certainly be a lot more fun than this. No offense.
The reason I asked that...
Clav mocked the shit out of him. He literally has said, I think he even said it earlier in this interview, he doesn't even like clubbing that much. But he really is not liking this. I am blown away that he is stuck around for a majority of this interview. And he just shits on him. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't even like clubbing. Not even particularly, but I do it over this. This sucks. And it's like, he's basing, he's I don't know, impervious to the fact that he's been an asshole to Clav this entire time, or he's like, there's no way that Clav is picking up on me being this much of a D-bag in front of him, this much of a wanker, if you will. Clearly he just probably isn't a happy guy. He has no idea that I'm being this much of an asshole. It's definitely not impacting him in any way. So he's probably just unhappy in life.
I'm 38, right? I'm almost 20 years older than you. I'm of the firm belief that there's obviously a lot more to life than looking good, going to the club. That's my opinion. You don't have to share it. But do you think you'll mature and change and look back on this with a little bit of regret?
Not at all. I mean, looksmaxxing has done wonders for my life. And what wouldn't you say?
Can it be a difficult life at times? I see you stream every day, cameras in your face. Is it a lot?
I mean, yeah, that part's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult to do the amount of content I do and stream the amount of hours. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I didn't have to do that. That's just my, personal stuff that I do. So I'm a content creator.
Is any part of you wish you were doing something else with your life right now?
I mean, sometimes, if I'm, streaming a lot during certain weeks, I'll feel like, I don't want to stream today. But, if I take a day off, rarely, the next day I'll be a lot more excited about it. So I would say that when I actually think about it, I do like what I do.
One more, and then we might just have a think about some other things, mate. But I'm curious.
Again, what is sorry. Do you think that you're going to regret what is truly the most successful point in your life that you have ever been at? And he's mentioned, he even talked about it earlier in the interview. And this is another thing that just pisses me off. If you ask questions in an interview, you should keep that answer in your head so that you don't look like a moron further down during the interview. Because he brings up, he's like, I do things for virality. I do things to be viral, which is like going to the club and getting those clips. He's not said, and multiple times he said, like, I'm not really a fan of going to the club. I have really bad social anxiety, but it gets a lot of views, it gets a lot of attention, and he'll literally not meth, but he'll take drugs to remove his inhibitions just to get out, get away with it. And it's like, all he had to do was do a little bit of that research, or like keep that in mind. And instead, it's like, well, are you gonna regret these moments in your life? And maybe it's we're looking at it now with hindsight, where it's like, okay, he would answer it differently, and how would you know if he didn't ask the question in the first place? But I don't know. I'm not sure. Wait, did you get rid of someone completely? There's no way you got rid of Brienne. Brienne, are you still there? Did you just like wipe them off the stream? I hope not. But yeah, I don't know. Again, just
Would you say you have a strong male or perhaps female role model in your life?
I would say that Rich Piana would be one of the biggest.
Rich Piano's a bodybuilder. You're still here, Brianna. There we go. Or Brienne. Rich Piana, just a big bodybuilder. He was pretty popular early 2010s, late 2000s.
Content creators that I would watch growing up, and I really liked one of his sayings, whatever it takes. So that's usually what I'll reference, and that's sort of what went into a lot of my mentality.
What about in your day-to-day personal life? Do you have a role model talking to you saying, I think you should do this, I think you should do that?
I wouldn't really say so. I'd say I pretty much do whatever I want, because I have to enjoy what I'm doing for it to be good content, right?
It's a good interview when the guy goes on his phone during the interview. He already has a notepad. He's already clearly, got questions to ask, and he just pulls his phone out.
I wouldn't really.
Sorry.
Talking to you saying,
there
what
it
about
is.
him?
I'll reference, and that's sort of what went into a lot of my mentality.
What about in your day-to-day personal life? Do you have a role model talking to you saying, I think you should do this, I think you should do that?
I wouldn't really say so. I'd say I pretty much do whatever I want, because I have to.
How do you feel about aging? It happens to all of us. Do you think you're going to look good forever?
Yeah, well, you could slow down that process. There's a lot of things that you could do. Take hair loss medication. You could wear sunscreen. So yeah, no, aging is inevitable, but it's just about slowing that process down as much as possible.
You talk about doing this to better your opportunities in life and be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Is part of it still, or a lot of it still, to be attractive to women?
I mean, that's just really a piece of it. It's very narrow-minded thinking.
Do you have relationships with women?
I do.
Do you have a girlfriend, a partner?
Yeah, I mean, I hang out with a lot of girls. That's what I'll say.
Can you expand on that? I mean, what is your relationship with women?
I could, but why?
Curious. Are you doing this because you want to meet the right person or meet a person, or are you just out there
No,
meeting as many?
I just wanted my life to be better in every regard, right? So
He has answered this in different forms multiple times at this point. Whether, like, I don't understand why he keeps repeating the same questions. This is so frustrating as a viewer to hear him. So, like, are you doing this just for women? Like, are you doing the looksmax when he's repeatedly said that no, you don't do looksmaxxing just for women. It's an aspect of it, but he just keeps doing it over and over and over again. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, why do you have him answering the same? It's like he's almost trying to get him on a gotcha. Like, I don't even know.
thinking just women is the key to life is definitely a false way of thinking, and will lead people to really nothing. So.
It's interesting you put it that way. You know, a lot of the things you talk about and say are very similar to other things we hear in the whole manosphere and things that people see as rather problematic. But on that note,
2 more questions.
of course, was born
This is the point he's getting irritated, I guess. He said 2 more questions.
out of the incel community.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, things that people see as rather problematic. But on that note,
2 more questions.
of course, was born out of the incel community and movement. And do you identify with that group? How do you feel about being linked to that group of people?
Do I identify as an incel? I mean, how could you ask me that question as a follow-up after you asked me about my relationships to women? I mean, that's quite literally the worst sequence of questions I think I've ever heard.
Well, let me rephrase it then. Looksmaxxing was obviously a term created by the incel community. How do you feel about being linked to that group?
He made a great point. Clav made a great point. Do you identify with the incel community? Does he know what incel means? Why is he... None of the responses that Clav has given over the course of this interview, over the course of his interview with Andrew Callahan, points to anything about the incel community other than the fact that there are incels that go over to him. He is, in the Andrew Callahan, the Channel 5 interview that he did, he was like, I have a disdain for incels. I think it's really fucking stupid to hate women because you can't get them. It's not healthy. It's not good for you to focus on this. There's no good that comes out of being an incel. There are, like, I would be frustrated to be asked a question like this if I'd already answered it before. And if he's not even giving that, like, yes, some of the words I think even Andrew pointed out in his interview with them, that those words came from message boards that primarily started out with incels. And he's going to answer it again, similarly to how he answered the same question with him. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can't imagine that every interviewer is going to ask brand new, unique questions. But like, it's clearly something that he's already made a big point on. And it's like an interesting subject, I guess, because of incels and how that could, I don't even know. I'm kind of just yapping at this point. But again, just like, I don't blame Clav for being irritated and thinking that this is stupid.
I'm not linked to that group in any way. Looksmaxxing is self-improvement, right? So it's about potentially even ascending out of that category. And so that would be kind of one of the goals, is to disassociate from being an incel and overcome that. So that doesn't make sense.
You also maintain, or you've been seen with certain people.
Sorry, hold on. I think it's a valid question considering the shit he said about women earlier in this interview. What did he say earlier in the interview that points to him having a hatred for women? Specifically as a hatred for women that also points to him being hateful of women, because that is not what I got from any of his questions. And yes, you think I am involved. Well, he's like, do you identify as someone who is involuntarily celibate after you asked about his relationships with women? Yeah, exactly. Maybe Quinn doesn't think the statements were incel-like. Yeah. He said some things about women, what women are like, and then touted the main problems that incels have with them. Incels have a problem because they're involuntarily celibate, not because of that. Like, that's not how incels work. Like, he's making a point of that right now. You can be hateful without saying the hateful part out loud. That's the definition of pretty much the incel conduct, though, is to be hateful, because the women, like, you're involuntarily celibate. Against your will, you can't have sex. That's the hateful part. That's like the definition of the incel community. Okay, cool. I thought I was crazy for a sec. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. That's okay, though.
Who are from maintain.
Well, we're getting close to him wrapping it up.
You also maintain, or you've been seen with certain people who are from all parts of that world. I mean, just as an example, you've obviously shared company with Andrew Tate and other, dare I say, rather controversial figures. Why do you? spend time with people like that.
Are you trying to? I see you want to make this political.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just curious.
No, that's what you want to do. Is
No,
like,
no.
you have
Not,
two
not at all.
questions, so
Not at
you
all.
wanna-
Not at all. I'm not
You want to end
at all
it
doing that.
and talk about.
I'm just curious. No, not at all. I don't care about your politics. I know you're not political. You've said that repeatedly. I'm
Well,
just,
you
when you get seen with
definitely
those
wanna make
people,
this-
obviously people make assumptions. I'm wondering what
Here we
the
go.
thought process and
I guess you
motivation
watched
for you is
the Piers Morgan
behind.
interview. I guess you watched the Piers interview.
I did, yeah.
Too bad
So I don't blame Clav for being hostile about this, because people do, make that political. But I will say, even with how much I dislike the interviewer, I don't necessarily think it's bad. And I don't even think that he was necessarily presenting it in a way that I would immediately think that he's jumping into the politics of it. As much as I'd give him shit for the other stuff, I think generally it would be an interesting question to be like, why do you associate, especially if you are so apolitical about things, and he makes it very clear that he's apolitical about things, why would you interact with these people that are so laden in their controversies that also surround their political ideation? That is interesting to me, especially when he pushes so hard against anything political. It'd be interesting to know why he's willing to put up with that kind of, criticism and deal with, like the Miami club incident where they were listening to that funky, wacky song. But I think he has kind of been ruined by the fact that other people have tried to politicize it. That even if, and honestly, I do believe, regardless of the other stuff, that I don't know. It came off as he was being genuine about this question, just wanting to know. I don't think it was a bad question to ask, but he was not happy with it regardless.
I didn't have time to look into anything about potentially who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go.
Again, Clav I think he's talking about Piers Morgan right now because he had brought it up earlier. There was something with that. This guy's like, I don't have a wife. My wife didn't cheat. Like, he just kind of makes his shit up in response. He does a terrible job at responding quick on his feet. Clav is not known to be quick-witted. Keep in mind that I played this at 1.25 speed. Like, okay, just just for your guys' sake.
Down that, didn't have time to Piers interview.
I did, yeah.
Too bad I didn't have time to look into anything about potentially who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go down that line of questioning.
It took him 14 seconds to get through that, I'm pretty sure. I think it was 12 to get through all the way to the wife cheating on you.
With me, all right? Because I'm not doing any political.
I'm not married, but I was simply only asking because obviously you've been filming with these people.
So I can.
And then he immediately ignores the fact that he was just completely wrong and was not correct. It was like, well, maybe you should do some looksmaxxing. Get a wife. Get fucked.
I could teach you about looksmaxxing then. Maybe you could switch that up. But thanks for the time. Appreciate the interview. All right.
So, yeah, he's never talked quickly. Even in his earlier vids, he was never a quick speaker. So that's where we're at, right? All in all, I'm really not it makes me, again, like I said earlier, it makes you want to interview people more because, again, Clav is such a fascinating person to me. And it's really easy. Like, even Channel 5 did a really good job of exposing that he comes off as a very much a pseudo-intellectual. And the closer that my brain gets to thinking oh, Clav sounds rational here, the more the other part of my brain is going, something's wrong. How could I... how could it be coming off that Clav is seeming so rational in comparison to his previous interview where that, almost never came across the table? And so, watching it is just, when you let your bias affect you so much in the way that it probably honestly has because of how much I have a disdain for this fucking journalist, it creates the situation where you're going to ask questions where you already believe that you have the answer and you won't listen to the answer that's being given to you by the person you have the preconceived notion of, even if they're not being honest with you. for the sake of just going through the journey of getting this information and, you know, giving it to the people that are observing this interview, I can't imagine that acting this way and treating a guest like this, you know, during an interview is benefiting literally anybody. You just come off as a snob, and that's what happened here. And Clav took W's off of someone who's almost twice his age, that has realistically been interviewing people for quite some time. Clav is not a smooth talker, and he still had dubs. That's mind-blowing to me. Interviews like this are frustrating because Clav is clearly living an unhealthy lifestyle and has a very self-detrimental mindset, but interviews like this don't help the conversation. No. And the people that are watching him are going to look at this and be like, dude, he shit on him. Like, Clav shit on this guy, even though he had multiple points that are just like head-scratchingly stupid himself. But it gets taken over by the fact that there were equally stupid, if not worse, moments on the journalist side. Comes across very insecure. There's also other points that people like who had known him like behind closed doors also have talked about, that he's incredibly insecure, that he wouldn't leave his house because he's worried he'd be mogged by other people. Like, this is just kind of who he is. It's because you're taking civility as being rational and logical, aka the conservative fallacy. What? Okay. Yeah, I've only... Wait, before you go, have you seen the AI vid? That is not narrowing things down. What do you mean, Brian? The AI video. I will say, though, for the sake of the Clav video, that's all I have for that segment, so I'll end the recording. I'll probably just do like a follow-up thing after. But then we have that, and there's actually, I'm doing a separate thing, looking into some stuff on Clav. I guess I'll just talk about it. There's some research that I've been doing. I was reached out to somebody. It appears that Clav kissed a 16-year-old. That 16-year-old gave him a fake ID, but he was told midstream while interacting with this woman that she was 16 by someone who was popping by during it. And we don't have it fully confirmed yet, the age of this girl, but we're getting multiple reports from multiple people that are claiming that they're from her high school and she's a sophomore in high school. My issue is that he was told midway through the stream, this person was like, hey, I have pictures to prove that she's not who she says she is. Like, that is a fake ID, everything like this. He was shown that. He believed, like, I believe when the kissing happened, he thought that she was like 18 of age. But that happened midway through. I think that's still worth going into and taking a look at, but I want to get that confirmed first. So if you don't see a video on that, it's because we haven't confirmed it, or I'm like genuinely in talks with getting close to like contacting potentially her parents to confirm this, because it's kind of up in the air right now. There are a lot of people that are also saying the opposite, and TMZ also came forward. They had the video of them kissing, and we're saying that she is 18, but still looking into it. Watching 60-Minute Oz again for a while. The interview was a bit frustrating. Often it's a guest that repeats themselves, not the journalist. Was annoying. Right. I haven't even seen their other ones, so to take a look at that. But do we have the AI video? Oh, the gaming stream. We haven't. This was not the gaming stream. This is. But I will be doing some more gaming streams. Thinking about doing them on the alt channel though. Girls lying about age is fucked up. Well, they had a fake ID too, which is also pretty fucked. The interviewer had while saying dumb shit was wild and constant too, which is really annoying. You linked twice. I don't think the links show up in YouTube chat. You might have to join the Discord to send in the link. If someone can link the Discord here. If you're 18 up, feel free to join the Discord. We talk drama, play video games. Let me get this up here. I think this will work. Yeah. There we go. Got nicer hair than Clav and got them big ass eyes on him. It's just because of the glasses. I've got little tiny eyes. But you can join, throw it into the drama thread or the general, and we'll take a look at the link here. That'll wrap up stream. What games, dude? Whatever games. I love Dota. Been playing Road to Vostok. I played just a shit ton, a lot of stuff. Also, I just want to bring this up because we're talking about Clav. He no links in general. Oh, then in the main drama mega thread or in the news announcements page. Clav also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, he's very much not aware of how funny he is, like how ridiculous he seems. I think a lot of his audience, a lot of the people that watch him or like, you know, make his clips go more viral are watching him because he's a lolcow. Like he genuinely makes a fool of himself, and I know he doesn't think so. And a lot of the people that I talk to about this watch him because he's funny, not because they resonate with him at all. You grab the link? Oh, okay. Let me see. What the actual fuck is this? Is this by him?
Can't put a man down who's already at war with his own reflection.
What the actual fuck is this? Hold on, let me pull it up for you guys.
They didn't understand. You can't put a man down who's already at war with
Rose literally mogging as he gets punched.
his own reflection. I was untouchable, unbreakable. And then he walked in.
Who are you?
Most people look in the mirror and see themselves. I look in the mirror and see a god. And suddenly, for once in my life, I was not alone.
We love you! Can we be in your stream? I love you so much!
We gotta go. Yeah.
I got the best trash can lid. I got the best trash can lid.
What if you both come home with me tonight?
A spark, a look. My life would never be the same.
You following me? You wish.
Okay. Is this enemies to lovers Brokeback Mountain but for the mogging community? Are we dead ass?
You're shaking. No, I'm not.
What the fuck?
Wait!
What is his name? Like ASU frat leader or something? He isn't even the frat leader. Fun fact, if you didn't know that.
Damn!
I thought love was a mirror that finally agreed with you. Turns out love is the person who makes you put the mirror down. Until
ASU frat leader.
Until the
Yeah.
mirror breaks.
That should be me.
Again. Harder! Can't do this anymore. You're making me perfect. Don't stop.
Is that the bone smashing?
Shut. Pick it up.
Asmongold?
Look at yourself. Look at what you did to yourself. I don't know who this is. Where did
Pretty
you
sure that's the child of Joe Rogan and Dana White.
go? I'm right here, Joe. No, you're not. Don't walk away from me! Please!
This is not a story about loving someone else. This is a story about loving yourself.
There you are. This isn't what we were. You were supposed to love me. Stop! 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 Please stop! You don't have to do this. mock me! I gave up everything! You couldn't just let me have this one thing!
Come back. See? You couldn't do it.
Why did you have to mog me? Wow. That's a Watch Mojo top 5 cinematic masterpieces. Wow. How did you find this? This is 400 views. How did you spot this? Why is I was more interested in the Asmongold B plot. They had the princess track, and it was Asmongold turning into a princess. Wow, that was... God, that was something. Now we just need to get it cast. Who do you think could play who? I think Clavicular should definitely start it, dude. Moment of silence to that. I don't want to let that percolate quietly. I'm not gonna lie. The r/Clavicular subreddit that was posted there. God, that's amazing. Life is better having watched that. I'm really sorry to hear that. First thing I see is the trailer. I feel like I got crop dusted. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry you joined in for that. Wow, horrific thing. Thank you so much for putting that on. Putting that on my radar. Wow. Well, my throat is not feeling the best, but thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I hope you found this stream useful. I'm going to cut this down. I will not, I am not putting, I already stopped recording on my side for that. So, I'll tell people to check out the stream. I'll leave the stream up in its entirety. I might change the, thumbnail to a worse one because I might use this one for the full video. But you'll expect a bit more of a cut down version of this live stream up as a main video within the next like 12 to 24 hours here. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Any other questions before I go? Thank you for coming around. That would be it, dude. I do an it's over, and I put it so that it's almost Clavicular and ASU frat leader almost kissing. And I put below that he came, or like he finished, instead of he's finished. And then I put in the title, it happened finally. And then I just play the trailer. There's nothing else. I fully take it. Want to know more about that interviewer now? You'll really enjoy it. I'm probably going to do my own little personal dive on on this interviewer just to see what else they've done in the past, because this is crazy. But cool. Okay, well, take care, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good night. Come join the Discord and hang out if you'd like. Normally after a stream I'll hop into Discord, but again, not feeling the greatest, so take care. Adios. See you later.